Hello and welcome back to the DP World Tour Picks and Bets show. I'm joined by the show's favourite ringer, Ryan Baroff. Ryan, we're kicking off the new year in the same way I think we ended last year, with you standing in for Sky. At this point, I feel like it's a shared ownership between you and Sky, which is good. Sky, very busy work-wise, family-wise. I'm sure he will pass on any sort of picks he's making this week via all the social channels. But Ryan, great to have you back. Happy New Year.
And yes, you too. Really looking forward to golf. Obviously, we got some breaking news this morning on Brooks, which we'll talk about. But really looking forward. We got really good events, really a strong field for Sony as well as what we have over in the Middle East.
Yeah, and I think so let's just very quickly touch on the Brooks news before we get into what will be the Dubai Invitational for us on the DP World Tour. But the Brooks news is that he is coming back. He's allowed to play under this new category called the Returning Member Program. They obviously had to make this new eligibility factor to get someone like Brooks Koepka back in. They have been very, very purposeful with the wording. You can't have been a member for the last 2 years, and you must have won either the Players, the Masters, the US Open, PGA, and or the Open Championship between 2022 2025, Ryan, which means that Brooks, Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Cam Smith are the only players eligible. The other thing is that you cannot signal your intent to want to come back for 2027. You have to apply now before February the 2nd to get back. So we've kind of come to the conclusion between us. Cam Smith is not coming back. He's not going to try and do that. Bryson DeChambeau is very much making money everywhere and anywhere else except for the PGA Tour, especially on YouTube. He's signaled his intent to sign up for LIV. He's probably going to use all of this to kind of make more and more money out of LIV and then carry on his way through social media. Which leaves Jon Rahm. Do we think, Ryan, that Jon Rahm's going to blow this up and do it now that Brooks has done it? Because it's going to happen this year if he's going to do it. Otherwise, he's got to wait, I guess, next year.
Yeah. I would say yes, right? I think really the only reason that he wouldn't would be sort of if the DP World Tour kind of figured out the Ryder Cup stuff on their own, or he feels some crazy loyalty to Hatton, who he brought with him to LIV, obviously, because Hatton is not part of this group as he hasn't won a major, obviously. But yeah, like we were saying, I mean, this is the time of year that Rahm would want to play the tour. West Coast swing, Scottsdale, obviously, players, Masters tune-up, all those sort of things. He never really felt like he fit with LIV, or it was obviously just a money grab for him. So I would say it's still probably 50-50, but I am definitely leaning more towards Rahm will take this opportunity because I think, like Brian Rowlatt made very clear, he's not guaranteeing this will be available next year, right? This is possibly a sort of one-time olive branch. You come back now, you get punished for a year type of thing. So I would lean yes towards Rahm coming back as well.
And then the punishments that you kind of talked about is I guess they're financial, right? So they are allowed to earn official and unofficial prize money, including the prize money at the Tour Championship and other member benefit programs, but they're not allowed to earn the earnings assurance program, the recurring equity grants under the player equity program for 5 years between 2026 and 2030. So that's, I guess, probably quite substantial. And then they're not allowed to receive any bonus payment from the 2026 FedEx Cup bonus program, which is the regular season payout following the BMW Championship. So there's obviously financial implications, not enough to put them off and not enough to really make any difference to me and you who watch golf, right? So I think it's more to appease a few of the players to say, look, you put all these things in place, don't give them away to everybody.
I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Obviously, I think it was mentioned that the players voted on this, like the player boards, I should say, not the full PGA Tour membership, but the player boards voted on this, which includes, people like Rory and Adam Scott and all those guys that are on there. So it'd be very interesting to hear what they have to say about it, because obviously at least a majority of them approve this. But yeah, like you said, the financial penalties, I mean, Brooks and Rahm don't care. They've made $500 million. So
Yeah.
if they lose out on 20, 30, $40 million over the next few years, it's really not a big deal. But look, for golf, it's great. I think it's important to have Brooks back. I think it's very important that we get Jon Rahm back as well.
I guess the other wrinkle to it, so they must now play in 15 events.
Mm-hmm.
So Koepka's got to play 15 events, which is obviously only one more, I guess, than he was playing on Live.
Sure.
He's going to be doing this first period at the Farmers and the Waste Management. I guess the 4 majors count. Then he's got Scottish over on and I guess one of the other DP World Tour events. But he wouldn't have played that many events when he was here before. Is one thing. Like, he has now probably got to play. He's got to kind of play more than he would want to.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't read everything, but I assume he can get sponsors invites into all the signature events, right? Like that's 8 events right there.
So it said the signature events, so they will be added to the field for events in which they participate and will not impact any other players' eligibility. The signature events, they must qualify through playing categories. So A on Next 10, A on Swing 5, top 30 of the OWGR, or a full field event win. They're actually ineligible to receive sponsors exemptions into signature events.
Okay, good.
So I guess
so he'll have to earn his way in. But either way, again, at most, that's a 1-year penalty. Right. Yeah. He will be in every signature event next year. So,
and look, he's probably going to play really well at Phoenix.
He'll be back in the top 50, of course. Like I don't think there's any doubt about that. So
he'll be fine. But yeah, interesting. I guess the only difference is that like Koepka's contract was expiring at Live, whereas is still probably relatively caught up in it. So I guess that's the only. Like, there is probably some more difficulties legally for him to get out of his than was Brooks. But
sure,
they'll figure it out. It's a good sign for people that want these players back on the PGA Tour. If you don't care, you don't care. Yep. You're going to see them at the majors anyway. That's why they're eligible for this. So it's not a massive thing, but it's a big thing for PGA Tour fans, I guess, that they're going to see more of Brooks Koepka this season, which is good for golf.
Absolutely.
The Dubai Invitational, we talked about at the top of the show, a couple of big fields. It's the real start of the season now because we obviously had those few events at the end of last year. We had the Mauritius Open, which Shaper. By the way, we've been talking about giving the Shaper when he goes and does it back to back in South Africa and then Mauritius. But we had Ryan Gerard there losing in the playoffs. We had some good players in those events towards the end of last season, and it feels like we've now got a really good event. Here at the Dubai Invitational, we've got the players that typically support the Middle Eastern events. We've got Rory McIlroy, we've got Tommy Fleetwood, obviously headlining the event. They're plus 340, plus 470 respectively. Mm-hmm. You've then got Nicolai Højgaard 16-1, Shane Lowry 17-1, and then recent winners in Jaber, Nirgard Peterson behind them. So we've got the players that we need in this event. We know the formula of basically people that play well in the Middle East will continue to play well in the Middle East. I don't think there's any reason to overthink the golf course itself. But is there anything that you kind of outline for this event in particular and the course?
No, again, we've seen golf in Dubai for decades now. We know exactly what it is. Like you said, we know who comes here every year. We know who plays well at these events every year. And if that wasn't enough for you, right, the last time they played this golf course in 2024, I believe that was the only time they played this golf course, Tommy Fleetwood won at 19 under with Rory McIlroy T2 at 18 under. So I do expect that we see more of that. As I said, when we came on the air, I had zero interest in taking on Rory and Tommy this week. I bet some doubles. I bet some without. I just don't see a way in which both of them are not in the top 3 on Sunday in some capacity. So,
yeah. The difficulty is, I feel like, you go back a year, right, and you go, right, well, I'm never going to bet Tommy Fleetwood at 5-1. So, at least one of them is completely opposable. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case these days. He's definitely evolved as a player in the second half of 2025, got the monkey off his back in terms of the PGA Tour, is going to be a lively contender at probably every single major this season, unless something dramatically, happens with his game. Rory is very, very hard to beat in any of these events. And then when you go back to 2024, when it was the last staging of this event at Dubai Creek, Fleetwood beats Rory McIlroy by one shot. So the 1 and 2 in the betting are 1 and 2 in the only staging of this event. Rory opened with a 62. That was the best of the week. Fleetwood shot a 63 that was only matched by Francesco Molinari. So they were out and out the best players. There were a couple of contenders behind in, Tristan Lawrence was tied with Rory McIlroy at 18 under. Jordan Smith was 16 under. And then the aforementioned Francesco Molinari was 15 under. And then a couple of our favourites in Xander Lombard and Sean Crocker were there at 14 under to complete the top 6. But whilst I haven't quite drawn a hard line of I'm not going to take them on, I do think you've got to be very selective as to with who.
For sure. Yeah. I do think there are some names there, in that sort of next tier. I don't think you're going to get, any outsiders here. It's a small field for one, right? And I think there's a solid, 8, 10, 15 guys who have pretty decent win equity here that I would not be betting any long shots this week.
I've bet 2 in this kind of second tier, I guess, of players, and I have bet a couple, one long shot and one just I can't get away from. But the headline selection for me is Nicolai Højgaard. So back to him at the DP World Tour Championship. He had the 36-hole lead there. He only finished 11th in the end, but he had just finished 3rd in Abu Dhabi. And he's just one of those people that just signpost wins, right? I mean, the reason I backed him in the DP World Tour Championship is because he finished 2nd at the Nedbank in 2023 and then won that the following week. He looked like he was going to do the same, finish 3rd in Abu Dhabi and then, win the DP World Tour Championship, but just fell away over the weekend. He returns to this course having finished 25th a couple of years ago, which is not particularly inspiring in a 60-man field. But when you kind of look a little bit deeper into it, he was 6th after round 1 and 15th after rounds 2 and 3. So he played okay. And the other sort of wrinkle to it, I think, is that he had just won the DP World Tour Championship and he was preparing for the PGA Tour for the first time. So there was kind of a lot going on in his head. He just got the biggest win of his career. He was then going to, the next step of his career, going to America. A lot to kind of piece together. So to just kind of tune up here and finish 25th was not a massive surprise. And when you look at this kind of second half of last year, he was right in contention at the Scottish Open. Same again at the British Masters, probably should have won that. Abu Dhabi, made a really good run at that as well. Played well at the Open Championship. So everything he did in the second half of the year was really good. He split with his kind of coach in Soren Hansen in July. I mean, the results weren't largely different. He was playing some good stuff before that as well. But approach play looks good. Yep. I do think he's that one player, one or two players at the top of this market that can really feel confident about taking on the likes of McIlroy and Fleetwood. And he's on a fast track to being one of the more winningest players in the field.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the guys that I considered. I was with you. I bet in both events back in November in the Middle East. Played really well. Obviously, he did not get over the hump, which is really the only knock that I have on him. Is as good as he's been, he hasn't won in 3 years, 2 years, 2.5, 3 years. So that's kind of the one thing that's concerning. I kind of put him in that same category as I did with Tristan Lawrence, who, again, I was very close this week, especially with the runner-up here before. But the difference being Tristan Lawrence can get really hot with the putter, and he is a prolific winner. Even when we saw him win at Crans again this past summer, it was out of nowhere, right? He had a few missed cuts in a row, really wasn't playing well, kind of carried that over throughout the fall as well. So, yeah, I think Nicolai, I think Tristan, both were very, very close. But again, I only bet in the without market, so I was a little bit more selective this week.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with Nicolai, and I'm definitely taking point, the fact that he needs to win. There's no getting away from that. He hasn't done it since the tail end of 2023, the DP World Tour I referenced at the start of the show. But he has also finished 2nd at Torrey Pines behind Matty Pavon. He's been 7th at the Olympics in that first year on the PGA Tour, and then last year 8th in Mexico, 4th at the Scottish Open, then a couple of top 3s to end. So it's coming again. I'm pretty confident it will come again. And I just think in a very limited field where, chances of betting people are very slim. Am I back in Shaper and Nirgal Peterson to win so quickly again? Probably not. David Puig, Angelo Eura, probably going slightly off the boil at the tail end of last season. And I just couldn't really get Shane Lowry. So in the end, it made perfect sense for me to go to Højgaard. And then I went with Thorbjorn Olesen, who, you know, and probably one thing to say about Højgaard actually before we very quickly move on is that he's got the better of Tommy Fleetwood directly twice. He's beaten Fleetwood, Hovland, and Wallace at that Deep World Tour Championship. You know, he's just a very, very good player in contention. You know, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
Olesen is incredible in the Middle East. Makes perfect sense given that he kind of is based in Dubai. But you look at him; he's won the Ras Al Khaimah, where he's finished 2nd and 8th for the Abu Dhabi, 3rd, 5th, and 7th in Dubai Desert Classic, and 2nd and 3rd in Qatar. He finished in 8th place here 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was really poor on that Sunday, but he was 3rd going into the final round.
Yeah,
and you look, and he had closed out the year in really strong fashion in 2023. Came into this in, you know, really good shape, even though he had a poor kind of Deep World Tour Championship that year. Mm-hmm. But he's doing it again. 7 top 20s now in his last 11 starts. A lot of those being on the PGA Tour, of course. I just think with the fact that he's really, a lot of players really struggle to balance both tours, right? And I think that the big thing that's indicative of what Olesen's doing right now is that if you look at his kind of second half of the season, he's got 14th at the 3M Open, 16th at the Danish Golf Championship, 20th at the Irish Open. Then he goes back to the PGA Tour, 14th at Sanderson Farms, 9th in Spain, 3rd in the Bank of Utah, 14th in Mexico. Like to kind of put up a top 10 on the DP World Tour in between those 3 kind of PGA Tour efforts as well. Just really strong. And again, 8-time DP World Tour winner. He has got the kind of experience of beating Tommy Fleetwood a couple of times. Well, not directly, but fields in. He isn't the same. Potentially harder to argue that he's the same caliber of, like, I feel really strong about him on Sunday. Maybe even over kind of Højgaard, right? But the difference is he does, apart from when he had the ban, he does pretty much win every year.
Yeah. It's also been a while for him, obviously, right? He won back in 2024. I was talking to Ben Coley. He's very high on Olesen this week as well. I do like that he played quite a bit over the winter break, right? He played in Mexico, in Bermuda, the RSM. He played in South Africa. Obviously putts really well and putts these greens in the Middle East very well. So I can definitely get behind it. Again, I was very selective with who I chose, but he would be in that group of 5, basically, that I would consider backing against Rory and Tommy here.
Yeah. And then the next one in the market for me, and so I don't love this. Like, I'm going to caveat by saying, like, he's 50-1. I felt like I had to put him in. And if Sky's at the opposite end of the scale of backing, you know, young players that haven't really had a chance to even turn pro yet, I'm at the opposite end of trying to take these veterans on and be a bit of a sympathiser for. I mean, he's not that.
Is this the Yao Slouten pitch?
It's not quite. It's in that realm, though. It's the Andy Sullivan.
All right. He's not quite as old. It's all right.
He's only 38, but he looks like he should be kind of playing his senior tour already. Had a tough sort of few years, but the thing with Sullivan is, again, he's just another person that you just love in this part of the world, right? And although he's done all of his winning away from the best fields, and that's very, very fair.
Yeah.
He's won them by 9 and 7 strokes in the last 2 events that he's won, which is huge. And also, when you look, he was 2nd behind Rory McIlroy at the DP World Tour Championship in 2015, lost by a stroke, shooting 68 on the final day. He was 2nd to Danny Willett at the Dubai Desert Classic the year that Danny Willett won the Masters. Runner-up behind Antoine Rosner at the Golf and Dubai Championship. So he's had 3 runner-up efforts, and twice it was against kind of elite-level players, you know, Willett being elite at the time.
Yeah.
3rd at the, you know, BMW PGA Championship the year that Tyrrell Hatton won, 12th at the Open. Even went recently in contention at Abu Dhabi when Aaron Rai won, right? So he's just constantly in the mix in these kind of elite events, especially in the Middle East. Closed out 2025, 8th at the Ned Bank. He was better placed, you know, top 5 after a couple of rounds. 5th in India, 4th in Korea, 3rd, as I said, going in Sunday in Abu Dhabi, where he finished 7th. And even though he finished 34th at the DP World Tour Championship, he was, you know, 3rd after day 1, shot 66. So the level of golf that he's playing is really high. Do I worry that he can't beat Fleetwood and Rory McIlroy? Yes. Like, I don't have that same worry with Olesen and Højgaard. I do think they're capable of doing so. But that's the whole point of this event, right? That's why you're going the way you're going, which is to go in the without market. I don't know what, like, if Sullivan doesn't kickstart his career again with a win.
Sure.
In this type of form, he's probably not going to, which is the concern.
Yeah, and I think we've seen really the last couple of years, there's been these little pockets of, month and a half where Andy Sullivan is, again, like one of the best iron players on tour. He is, a constant top 10 threat. But again, like difference between being a top 10 threat to a threat to win. And then now you add in Rory and Tommy and you're like, I don't know. But, I am a big fan of long-term talent. I'm a big fan of sticking with the guys you've been betting. Like, I wouldn't fault anybody for going back to Dan Bradbury for the 100th week in a row. Like, these are the guys that we've been betting over and over, and they've been playing well. So again, I didn't get that way. My couple guys in this middle tier, and again, I'm going to caveat this with saying that, I did take them in the without markets, but I would be okay in the with markets if you really felt like it. But I did go back to Rasmus Nørgaard Petersen. He was as long as 25-1 in the full market. I believe I took a 16 in the without Rory and Tommy market. Was really high on him towards the end of the year. Knew the win was coming. I bet him at the wrong Aussie event. I bet him at the BMW, and then of course he won the Crown Aussie the very next week. So not a big surprise there. But again, really just a big believer in his talent. He is easily a top 50 player in the world, if not, borderline top 35, top 40. And then speaking of guys that we've been on that we're going to stay on, I'm going to stay on Daniel Hillier. Really, really strong finish. He was basically in the top 5 for like 2 straight months to end the year. And then also last January in Dubai, he finished second to Hatton. He lost by 1 shot on the final green when Hatton made about an 8-footer or 6-footer, whatever it was. So, and that again is a field with Hatton and Rory and Reed and all these guys. So he seems like the type of player who could win in this field. I took a 25-1 on him in the market without. Maybe it was a 20. I'm not sure, but I'm going Rasmus Nørgaard Petersen and Daniel Hillier as my horses this week.
Yeah, so my I guess only reservation on Daniel Hillier, because it was basically between him and Andy Sullivan of like who's going to make this kind of top 4 bet, right? And yeah. I think my own, and again, it's a guessing game at this point, is he going to carry that over from the month's break, right? It felt like he got really hot, stayed hot. Iron play was better than it's ever been for Daniel Hillier. And what we've got to kind of work out is that Daniel Hillier going forward now, and he just figured out that part of the game, and he's going to be this sort of absolute menace going forward, or did he get hot and it's really hard to sustain? And that's when he's 33-1 in this kind of field, and again, like we're playing a little bit of a guessing game. He could belong 10 points shorter because that's just who he is now, right? And he's had that level of potential for a long time. And we're talking about a player that's had 4 top 9 finishes the last 6 starts, and when he's not been there, he was second at halfway at the DP World Tour Championship, the leader at halfway in career. Like he's basically been in the mix every single week. I just think he's the one that's really going to potentially kill. Yeah.
I think one of the things that gives me a little bit of confidence on him, obviously the runner-up finish last year over here, but he's won at every level, right? Really good amateur player, won a lot of amateur events. 2021, won on the Challenge Tour. 2022, won on the Challenge Tour. 2023, won the Betfred British Masters. So it seems like he's a winner. He's also a pretty good putter. Like one of the things we talk about all the time is how bad the putting is with a lot of the guys that we bet. He does not have that problem. And again, I love that he played a ton of golf over the break. He played both Aussie events, played both Middle East events, played the Genesis Championship, played in India, like all of October, all of November, really all through December he was playing. So.
Yeah, and I just think for me that, as you've already alluded to, the fact he finished second to Hatton, the fact he had that top 5 now before the end of the season, he's got another kind of top 20 in Qatar. Like to have that limited, to have that many good finishes in the Middle East in limited kind of starts really is really encouraging. So he was very close for me. I feel like this is probably the shortest we're going to get Hillier for the next few weeks, unless of course, he does what you hope he does and carries on. Nørgaard Petersen, like just really like unbelievable to do what he did to get the PGA Tour card, to then go and get the win. He is everything that we all hoped he was going to be, and maybe even more with we'll find out soon when he goes over to the PGA Tour, right? Like, I think we have this hunch that the Højgaard twins, Norgard, Svensson, all these people are going to go ahead and just convert into a really good PGA Tour career, and they find it particularly hard. I think Ollison made a really good go at it. I mean, the Højgaard twins obviously kept their card. That's good. And that's, probably living up to what we expected, especially Nicola Højgaard being in contention a couple of times. But it'll be really interesting to see how like Rasmus Nørgaard gets on in Torrey Pines or whatever it might be that he kind of plays for the first time. Maybe the Amex, I guess, will be something for him. But I guess it feels like he's kind of making hay while he can on the DPL Tour before he goes, right, I need to go over there and kind of strut my stuff. Because Marco Peng's already over there, right? Like he's moved over to the US and
not playing this week, but I assume we'll see him at the MX and at Torrey and all those events.
Like it's weird that he's kind of moved over there and not playing.
I think they said he had a baby. I think they said there was some nappy factor there potentially. So
we'll take this sort of opportunity to just shout out the audio listeners. So you can find us on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets The Mix over on Apple, Spotify, all your favorite kind of podcast avenues. Just search for the DPL Tour Picks and Bet Show and you will see me and Ryan on here in Sky in the future. Final one for me, Ryan, is Francesco Molinari. And I got suckered in at the Nedbank. He didn't he finished 10th when he had an opportunity to finish kind of 8th and 7th and all the different places where I could have got places. Didn't quite get over the line, but I don't know if I'm getting over sort of excited about Molinari on a very small sample size or whether he does feel like he's trending in the right direction. Now, this is based on, went to Utah. He finished 42nd, but he started really nicely. He was 67, was 12th after round one, a couple of 69s over the weekend. He was 27th in Mexico, but again, he opened 65, 67. He's inside the top 10 for 2 rounds. Finishes 34th in Bermuda, really tough conditions. He's playing well in the middle parts, 24th going into the final day. And then he brings it all together at the Nedbank, finishes 10th, again, at a course that would suit his kind of ball striking prowess. But the real reason I've given him one more go is that he finished 5th here in 2024 amidst probably the absolute worst form of his career, right? Like that was when he was completely lost with his game. 2023, he finished 5th at the Abu Dhabi Championship in January 2023 and then had nothing else. 14th at Bay Hill, but he was really horrible. Didn't have another top 10 for the whole year. Yeah. Finishes 5th here in the first start of the calendar year. Again, doesn't have another top 10 in 2024 or 2025, but feels like he's just slowly working his way back to the player that, maybe we're never going to get probably Francesco Molinari winning the Open Championship, contending at the Masters level of player again.
Maybe.
But I'm just basing this on who Francesco Molinari was before even that run of just, he was a very capable winner. He always had the opportunity to go to the next level. It was all based on whether he could kind of putt. So if we just think about the elite level of player that he was at this DP World Tour level, even prior to the wins that he racked up in a short space of time in America, I do think we should sort of pay him some sort of respect. Even at 43, it looks like a player that can come back, build on this kind of foundation to show. Again, do I expect him to have the kind of season he had in 2018? No. He, won Wentworth, he won the Open, he won, on the PGA Tour as well, followed that up with Bay Hill the following year. I don't know if we're ever going to get that again, but he is, if we talk about players that can win against all these Fleetwoods, the Rorys, he would be absolutely delighted to be in contention with Fleetwood based on their kind of Ryder Cup friendship, right? So,
yeah. I mean, do you think he's going to play full time, or is he going to take over the Ryder Cup captaincy? That would be. I know it doesn't impact this week, but just in general, do you think he's going to be playing a full schedule?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
As long as he starts as well as I hope he does. I don't think that Ryder Cup captain's been decided yet at all, and I think they're going to give it to Luke Donald again anyway.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I think what you said, the top 10 in South Africa with just elite iron play and ball striking kind of out of nowhere, but he had made 3 cuts in a row before that on the PGA Tour. So clearly he's put some time into the game. I guess I don't mind it. Probably more of like a top 10, top 20 guy for me.
Yeah.
The only other guy that I would mention, just because I know that you also just believe in the long-term talent, I think we'll see a bounce back year from him, is Antoine Rosner.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the perfect golf course for him, but he's had some good results over here. We've seen Rosner at his peak be the best ball striker on the DP World Tour, right? I mean, bombing it off the tee, hitting every fairway, one of the best iron players. So I do expect now that he's back here full time, I think he'll be more settled. I think he'll win this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up near the top of the lead at some point this week.
I think one of the things, there's always criticism of these players going away and chasing that PGA Tour card and we lose them and everything like that. But what it does do for the individual, one, it's great for them. They get the chance to go to the PGA Tour. But I imagine it must build a relative amount of confidence when you come back, right? Like when a Tristan Lawrence or a Rosner comes back, when Laurie Cantor sort of went to live, came back and was one of the better players. Like to basically go and say, like, okay, I wasn't quite cut out for that. Mm-hmm. But everyone that I was kind of contending with the year before is now gone to the PGA Tour. So they're out of the way. I'm only going to play Rory and Fleetwood 5 or 6 times a year. They immediately Rosner must think he's a top 10 player on the tour as of tomorrow, right? Like he must believe that. So it does immediately elevate that type of player.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, just sort of looking at the bottom of this field, like I feel like there's at least 20 or 25 guys here who have absolutely no chance of contending. I mean, you look at, I don't know how Daniel Gavins keeps getting invites into these events when he really can't break 80 anywhere. So, Patty Harrington's here. Like, I mean, you want to take a dart on a guy who can be in the top 10 or top 20, like that guy can top 10 anywhere he plays. So, like if you're just looking for names this week.
I feel like if I was just looking for an old man that can kind of finish in the top 10, it'd be Sean Norris based on
Sean Norris played well obviously last time out, but again he's Tiger Woods when he plays at home, and he's not when he plays elsewhere. So I mean there's a lot of guys here obviously who are based here now. I mean Adrian Otegi, Guido's here, so I think there are some options there, but if Rory and Tommy are here, Rory and Tommy are going to win, and I don't want to spend too much money taking them on.
No, the one that caught my eye a little bit, and in the end I just decided he's not good enough and is never going to win this game, was Marcus Armitage, with just the consistent iron play towards the end.
That's your first round leader on him. He's always 8 under on Thursday. So
I'm pretty sure he had like 4 first round leads last season.
Yeah, and I think wasn't his only win a rain shortened event because he had the lead after Thursday and then just sort of stayed there. Yeah.
Classic Armitage, but like he is a fast starter, and I do think like there is that avenue for him to go and do something like that again, like just go out and hit the traps fast and shoot a kind of 63, 64. His iron play has been really good over the last few months, really, but I mean, he's just not good enough. He's nowhere near good enough. Even when he's hitting the ball as well as he is, he's not contending really. But
I agree. Like I'm just looking at the odds board, and like I feel like when I get to like. I don't think anybody outside of Ryan Fox has a chance to win this week, frankly. Like I'm just looking at how many names there are and how small the field is. Like it just feels hard that all those guys miss this week. So,
well, I mean, Francesco Molinari, but other than that, I would agree. I think, looking at last year, Raz Al Khaimah, Marcus Armitage leads after round 1. He had a 4-shot lead after round 1.
Yeah,
2-shot lead after round 2 and finished second. So that's Marcus Armitage in a nutshell. He then led the Singapore Classic after round 1, the Indian Open after round 1, and the Open de France after round 1.
Yeah.
So he is a 4-time first-round leader last season. Probably his avenue to success if anyone wants to bet him.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
I think that's really it for this event in isolation, Ryan. Like any more time spent saying we don't know if we can take on Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood. Yeah, and
I was just looking back. Rory was first round leader by 2. He opened with a 62 here back in 2024. So best of luck to the field.
And that's the thing, right? I would, and I think that normally it's like I don't know if you can take on Rory. I'm never going to bet him. And then it used to be, well, you can probably take on Tommy. He doesn't win as much as he should, and now he's just absolutely like fine in that area as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Ross Fleetwood had been beat by like 4 people over the last kind of 5 events or something ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's unbelievable.
Been on fire.
Yeah, two to really take on. Is there anything we want to be? Is there a watching brief in terms of any particular player we want to keep an eye on ahead of the coming weeks? Anyone that you're keen to see?
So yeah, I mean, like we talked about in the preview pod we did with Sky, like all the Spaniards, right?
Yeah.
Puig, Ayora, Shakara, like all of them are here. Even Del Rey to an extent, but I think those 3 are probably the main guys that I'll be watching this week because we're very high on for the year.
Yeah, I think the other end of the scale, Slade is firmly established at this point, but keeps going missing is Ewan Ferguson. I was really close on Ferguson this week. I think I backed him the week after he finished 10th at the Nedbank and then he withdrew, so that was fun.
Yeah.
But he was showing signs of the DP World Tour Championship. He played well. He finished well at the Abu Dhabi in the final 36 holes. He's got a good record in the Middle East. And he finished, I believe he was kind of 11th place here. Tied 11th.
I kind of wish Xander Lombard was here, right? Because we all bet him. Yeah, we all bet him at home after the Q School win. And then he stunk. And then he was 5th in Mauritius. And he was top 10 here back in 24 also. So, yeah, kind of wish he was here because that's the one guy at like 80-1 that I probably would have bet this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just finally before we wrap up here, like I think it's interesting to note, I think the DP World Tour regulars have got a little bit of an advantage at the Sony this week that we don't normally get, in the sense that normally the top of the field have been at Kapalua the week before. I know not all of them made a trip, but 5 or 6 of them tend to, right? And that takes up a lot of space. They've had a warm up, they played in the trade winds, all this sort of thing. Haven't had a PGA Tour event or a proper PGA Tour event since November at the RSM Classic. And then you've got the likes of, John Parry, Haotong Lee, Ryan Gerard, all teeing up. I've backed Ryan Gerard in the Sony Open for
me too.
The Sony Open, but I just think there is a really good opportunity for the DPL Tour players to go over there and make an impact.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way too. I definitely bet guys who have been playing, like whether it was Corey Connors and Matsuyama playing the Hero, or whether it was Ryan Gerard, who obviously played over here. I bet Matt McCarty, who had gone down to Australia, right? Like, I bet Kota Kaneka, who just played Q School. Like, I wanted to play guys who haven't had 3 months off. So
yeah, except
for Daniel Berger. I did bet Daniel Berger, just throw that out there, but I think he'll be popular this week.
I mean, if it's not a Daniel Berger podcast, but I feel like the race might be run with Daniel Berger.
Yeah, I think people want him to. I think people are trying to make it happen, right? He made the cut at the RSM, but he obviously that was his only event since August 17th. So it's been a while, but obviously a course that he likes and a course that should fit him. So, yep.
It's not going to put too much strain on an injured man. No. I mean, as someone that's probably going to bet Zach Blair or has bet Zach Blair, like I don't really have too much to comment on the Sony Open. But summarising the picks for me, so I'm going with Nicolai Højgaard and Thorbjørn Olesen at the top of the board to take on the absolute favourites. Andy Sullivan, because I just can't watch that guy win and not be on. And then I do think we're close with Francesco Molinari coming back. I don't know what level back means for Francesco Molinari. I don't think it's the 2018 Francesco Molinari, but I do think we can get kind of something similar to that. I mean, he's got that in front of him, right? As you said, is he going to play a full schedule? I think he will. I think Luke Donald's going to be the captain again. So just running through those kind of odds: 16-1 for Nicolai Højgaard, 22-1 for Thorbjørn Olesen now. Andy Sullivan's 50-1. And then Francesco Molinari is 90-1. Ryan, obviously yours are going in the without market predominantly, but just run through those picks.
Yep, sure. And for full transparency, which I did post, I did play Rory and Fleetwood in cross doubles with Matsuyama. So if you want to have a little fun with the double, I would say Matsuyama plus those two makes the most sense. But yes, my two bets here in the without Rory and Tommy market: Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson at 16-1, Daniel Hillier at 22-1.
Perfect. Ryan, we're off the board. We're back for 2026. DP World Tour Picks and Bet Show is back. Thank you as ever for joining. Everyone that's listening and watching, thank you very much for tuning in again. And we will be back next week for more.
All right. Good luck this week.
Thanks, guys.